questions throughout the presentation, you can add your questions to the chat box, and we're going to do our best to get to those questions at the end of the presentation in a live format where we can go over the answers to those. We also wanted to bring light to the fact that we are operating under unusual circumstances right now with COVID-19. We're in a state that we've never experienced before, and while it is currently not considered safe to travel, we are operating under the pretense that things will resume to normal, and that we want to plant the seed with you today to pique your interest in study abroad so that you can start planning, so that when the time comes for us to travel again, you'll be ready to go on a program and know exactly what you need to do.
Also, I just want to recognize that the chat box is lit. Thank you for posing questions and answering them. I'm having a lot of fun reading through the different locations that you guys are saying that you'd like to study abroad in. So to start us out, we want to introduce ourselves. So we are a team of 5, a small but eager team, and that consists of our director, Alice Michelle, our assistant director, Emma May, and then we have 3 study abroad program coordinators and advisors. So the first is Adam Freed. He'll be presenting on Wednesday. Chrissy, do you want to give a little bit of info about yourself?
Yes, so again, my name is Chrissy. I'm a study abroad advisor. I've been working here at UC Santa Cruz for over 3 years, and I studied abroad in Japan. My experience was extremely influential for my future. It led me to where I am today, being here, helping you all make study abroad part of your college experience. So I'm just happy to be here and kind of guide you along with that process.
And then my name is Ashley Bayman. I use she, her, aya pronouns. I'm a study abroad program coordinator and advisor. One reason that I always look forward to engaging with you guys is because I studied abroad 3 times during my undergraduate. Once when I was in community college in Mexico, and then when I got into the university, I studied in Brazil and Argentina. And all of those experiences kind of impacted me so much that I chose the career to, help facilitate these study abroad in a way experiences for students. So again, just excited to engage with you all. So just so you have an idea of what we'll actually be discussing today, we're first going to start by providing you guys a little bit of context by discussing who's participating in study abroad and away programs, where they're going, and why you should actually do it, like what's the benefits and the advantages of doing something like this. Next, we'll look at study abroad and away program options. There are many different program types, and we want to make sure to clarify what those are and the types of credits and things that you can gain through each one of those experiences. And then finally, we will end going over some planning tips. So looking at academics, finances, and then just some general planning tips to help you get started on your journey. So we keep saying study abroad and away, right? But what does that actually mean? So there are 2 criteria for studying abroad. The first is that it results in progress toward an academic degree. So you do take 4 credit units that will be on your transcript after participating in the program. The second is that it takes place outside the country of your home institution. So you could study away in Hawaii, but it wouldn't be considered study abroad because that's within the US. In our office, we strongly believe that you don't have to have, an international experience to engage in intercultural learning. And that's why we do also offer domestic program options. We'll explain what some of those are, but you'll hear us use the term study abroad and away interchangeably because we offer both international and domestic programs. So first, by looking at who is actually studying abroad or away. So actually in the US, it's less than 3% of all undergraduates participate in these high impact learning activities. So there are advantages just, putting on your resume or applying to graduate school or what have you, just because you stick out as someone who has participated in a study abroad or away experience. But out of those 3% of students who study abroad or away, You can see just a few demographics here. 70% are white, 88% are undergraduate students, 91% identify as having no disability. We are always seeking to diversify the students who have access and participate in these opportunities. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is at the forefront of everything that we do in our office. So really ensuring that we have inclusive programming and that any student who wants to participate can, despite different barriers they might encounter. We hope to kind of break those down for you. Just so you guys have an idea of who's studying abroad or away at UCSC. So about 12% of our students identify as transfer students. The majority of our students actually study abroad or away their senior year. You can see 67%. Next are juniors and then sophomores. It's a very small percentage of sophomores, but sophomores can study abroad or away within certain programs. Next, a lot of our students are surprised to know that 80% of our students receive financial aid on their programs. Your financial aid, if you receive it, goes with you on a UC study abroad program, and we'll talk more about kind of that process later on. And then you can see some of the demographic data there at the bottom. So we are going to start by having a little poll for you all to kind of gauge where we're all at here. So we're going to ask 4 different questions. So I'm going to post the poll and then you can respond to the question and then I'll share the results. Also, this is my first time doing this. So again, just putting out that FYI. Okay, so I think the first question is up. Where do you think are the most popular study abroad away locations for UCSC students? I saw a lot of people in the chat box, you know, saying the different places that they want to go. I'm sure maybe not all of them are included on here, but what do you guys think? See a lot of question or answers coming in. Ooh, Japan's up there. Okay, I'm gonna end the poll. So everyone thought that Japan. That's actually surprising that students think that that's the most popular location. It actually is becoming very popular. I think over the past, what, Chrissy, 3 years, it's become more popular of a location.
Seems to get popular more and more every year.
So great, thank you. Our next question is, if you could study in any region of the world, where would you go? We couldn't say country because then we'd have to list, you know, all the countries in the world, and that wouldn't be very easy to do within this small setting. So let's look at the regions instead. I see a high percent of Europe, Asia, North America even. Okay, gonna end the poll. So the majority, about almost half of you all said that Europe would be one of the main regions you'd want to go to. Europe is beautiful. There are so many countries kind of right next to each other. So, you know, you drive 2 hours over a border and you're, you know, encountering an entirely new language and culture. Our third question is, what are some of your concerns about studying abroad or away? I hope you guys can all access that. And please take some time to think about it. But kind of the point of today's webinar is to address some concerns you have. So we really want to make sure that we're inclusive of providing those answers to you. So far coming in, I see language barriers as being a high one, paying for your program, COVID-19. Still got some answers coming in, so I'm just going to wait a minute. Okay. So the top concern, which is Actually, what we find here in our office is paying for study abroad or away. Financial barriers exist, but we're here to kind of clarify the process of one, utilizing financial aid, applying to scholarships. There are so many different funding opportunities. And so we want to make sure that you guys are always aware of what those look like. And now for the final question. What is your favorite food from another culture out of the below options? Obviously, it's not all inclusive of all the delicious food in the world, but we're curious. This is more of just a fun one rather than actually collecting data from you all. Okay. So top result was sushi, which is absolutely delicious. I feel like whenever I go to a new culture, one of the first things I want to do is try the, regional cuisines of that place. So my stomach kind of sort of leads me from culture to culture sometimes. Okay. Well, thank you guys all for participating in that. So just to kind of reiterate kind of what you guys were saying about like the most popular destinations where you wanted to go. Here you can see that the majority of US students studying abroad or away go to Europe. It's, as I said, it's a beautiful region. There are so many different places. But one thing that we do want to iterate in our office is that, again, you could study away in North America, whether that be Canada or within the US. And there are actually a lot of scholarships for students who don't study abroad in the more traditional locations like European countries. So if you wanted to learn Japanese in Japan, for example, there are really good scholarship opportunities for both language learning and when students study abroad or away in non-traditional locations. And here you can see the top countries were the UK, Spain, and Italy. And actually on our campus, those are the top receiving countries for our students as well. So finally, I want to end just by talking a little bit about some of the benefits of studying abroad or away. So we kind of categorize them into three different blocks, right? There's academic benefits, personal benefits, and career benefits. Looking at some of the academic benefits, you can receive major, minor, or GE credit by participating in a study abroad or away program. Some students, utilize those courses as electives as well. You get the chance to learn in a new academic and cultural setting. One of the things that I really like about studying abroad or away is, learning more outside of the classroom than I am inside of the classroom, because inside the classroom you learn theory and things that are specific to your major subject, but outside of the classroom you're having a new experience every day, either by going to the store or to the laundromat or out to eat. So I really value that part of studying abroad or away. Next, you can take courses with UC students, you can take courses with local students, or a mix of both. So you really get exposed to different kind of cultural viewpoints and backgrounds. You can learn a new language and practice with native speakers. I studied Spanish and Portuguese during my undergraduate years. And so each location that I studied abroad in was really to, get a better grasp of the language. And it helps so much, when you're living with a host family and you're waking up speaking Spanish and having dinner in Spanish. It just gives you the opportunity to practice a lot more. And it also complements your studies at UCSC. So, learning about your subject or major from a different cultural viewpoint or perspective is always really important to really have a more holistic understanding of what you're studying. Next, there are personal benefits of studying abroad or away. You can gain a better appreciation of other cultures as well as your own. You become more independent, mature, confident, and adaptable in unfamiliar situations. When I studied abroad, it was my first study abroad experience, was my first time ever going to an airport, my first time ever getting on a plane, and definitely my first time out of the country. So, you know, it's empowering, you know, just to be able to move your body across borders, and, you know, expose yourself to new settings and new ways of living. Um, Students make a lot of close relationships during their study abroad and away programs, whether that's with students in your program, with professors, with your host family, what have you. You can also study abroad for heritage seeking purposes. So that means studying abroad in order to connect in some way to your cultural background, maybe a religious background, linguistic background, what have you. And finally, like, it's really fun to be able to travel to other cities and countries during a study abroad or away experience. Finally, there are a few career benefits that we want to mention. The first is that you can participate in an internship program abroad or away. Our office actually has a specific internship program in Washington, D.C. that we'll go over in a little bit. You get to build an international social network. So you, again, going back to those important relationships that you gain during one of these type of experiences, you can conduct either international research, or you can do field work on these types of programs. You gain a deeper understanding of cultural diversity, which is super important when you're working in teams. I mean, at UCSC and beyond, you'll always kind of be working with groups of people who, you know, come from different viewpoints than you do. So studying abroad it really helps you kind of learn to appreciate those viewpoints. And then finally, you can clarify your own interests and life goals. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a study abroad advisor as a direct result of my study abroad experiences. So something to keep in mind on how, you know, studying abroad or away can quite literally change the course of your life.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. So now that you all know who is studying abroad and why you should study abroad, why don't we take some time to actually talk about the different types of programs that you can participate in as a UC Santa Cruz student. So you have many options. And on our campus, there are 6 different types of programs from which you can choose, and each program type has many options under that umbrella. So let's spend the next few slides digging in a little bit deeper with this. First, we have UCSC Global Seminars. Now, these are programs that take place overseas, and they're offered only during summer session. And on these programs, you take UC Santa Cruz courses, and you travel and experience the culture with UC Santa Cruz faculty. So they're teaching the course, they're just taking the class with them abroad. And so you're in a class with other students. It's always going to be a smaller program, so anywhere from about 12 to 25 other students on the program with you. And you can use your financial aid on this type of program. While we do not plan to offer global seminars summer 2021 due to the uncertainty of COVID-19, we will resume global seminars the following summer 2022. And on the slide, you can see an example list of countries that we plan to offer. Now, global seminars are really great if you prefer to study in a program that's very structured, where the logistics are prearranged for you, the housing is already identified and booked, and you're basically just showing up with your classmates, and you're spending a lot of time with each other and with the faculty. It's great for you, for example, if you don't have a lot of travel experience and perhaps you're not quite comfortable going on a program where there's a lot more independence. It's a great program if you like sort of the cohort style, being with other students kind of on a daily basis, getting to know faculty really well, and you will get to know each other on a personal level, unlike that in the way that you would get to know faculty in the classroom, where there's a bit more of a professional relationship with faculty and maybe you don't get to know them outside the classroom. This is an experience that is completely unlike the classroom. So this is just one type of option that we offer. And the next type of program that we offer is called UCSC Exchange. Now we have 2 types of exchanges. The first one is an international exchange. And this is where you study abroad at a top university during fall, winter, or spring. Exchanges are not available during the summertime, so it's important to note that. But these programs do offer UC Santa Cruz credit, guaranteed. You study, travel, and experience the culture in a much more independent way than the previously talked about global seminar. So in this type of program, you take courses at the university with other local students and other international students, and you can use your financial aid. The exchanges that we have available right now are in Japan, South Korea, Denmark, France, Germany, and Spain, and we plan to add more countries in the future. And exchanges are really great if you really like to kind of get out of your comfort zone, if you like to be independent, if you already are well traveled, or maybe you're not and you just want to kind of jump in. This is a great experience. I personally studied abroad on an exchange, and I came out of that experience a much more confident person because I had to navigate unfamiliar situations on my own in many ways. And it's just a great time for you to really get to know who you are in a different culture. The other type of exchange that we offer is called a domestic exchange. Now, this is where you're studying at another university or college without even leaving the US. So you will be studying at another university institution in the US. You receive transfer credit on this type of program, and you get to experience another culture outside of Santa Cruz. You can still use your financial aid. And currently we have 2 programs, one in New Mexico, one in New Hampshire. And we are looking to add more domestic exchanges in the future. This is a great program. Again, if you're looking for an independent type experience where you're really immersed in the university that you're attending. And if you don't wish to leave the US or you cannot leave the US for whatever reason, these are here for you to explore. Next, we have the UC Washington program, which we call UC-DC on our campus. Now, UC-DC takes place in Washington, DC, our nation's capital. However, for spring 2021, it's going to be offered as a remote program just because of the uncertainty of COVID-19. But we do plan to resume the program in DC once travel is safer again. But for spring, you would be taking virtual courses with UC-DC Washington faculty, and you earn UC credit. And you participate in a remote internship based out of DC. And there's a lot of different internship possibilities. So you can be working on Capitol Hill or in a government agency. You could be interning for a major media outlet, a nonprofit. The options are limitless. And you really get to engage with activists and experts and professionals in the industry. And it's just a great opportunity to really develop your resume. This program is open to financial aid, and it's open to all majors. So no matter what your major is, what your area of interest is, you can participate in this program and get experience related to the field of study that you want to pursue in the future. Next, we have UC Education Abroad program, UC EAP. Now, UC EAP is a system-wide provider of all programs for all students within the UC system. So it's a big organization that coordinates programs that are open to you as a UC Santa Cruz student. They offer UC credit. They have over 150 unique programs in over 40 countries. You can study virtually any subject. You can use your financial aid. And there are many different types of programs that they offer. They have internship programs. They have research. You can do an immersion program where, similar to an exchange, you're just enrolling at a university abroad and taking classes with local students. They have UC curriculum programs. These are programs that are designed just for UC students. So the curriculum and the academics will be very familiar with what you're already doing on campus, and they're taught by UC faculty. So this program is not very immersive, but it's really great if you do want to study in a bit more structured program that feels familiar to the academic experience you would have here in Santa Cruz. And then they have language and culture programs, which are just programs that are intensely focused on studying the local language and culture. Then we have other UC programs. Now, on this is a type of program that would be offered by any other UC campus. So many of the other UCs do offer their own study abroad programs. So you can enroll in those programs and use your financial aid, be studying with UC faculty and other UC students, and you can go during the summer or quarter. Most of these programs take place during the summer, but there are a few quarter programs. Just keep in mind that you need to do an inter-campus transfer in order to do the quarter programs, but they are open to other UC students. And last but certainly not least, we have independent programs. So these are programs that are offered outside the UC system by non-UC organizations. Now, in this type of program, you earn transfer credit. You will not be able to use your financial aid through UCSC. So we encourage students to apply to scholarships that are available through the organizations or independent scholarships. You can go abroad at any time. Non-UC's organizations offer a lot of different program options. There are hundreds and hundreds of options any time of the year. And they also have a variety of types of programs, such as your regular study programs, internships, volunteer programs, and research. So as we've mentioned, there are a few opportunities that are domestic in the US, and we just want to emphasize again that yes, you can do a program that takes place on US territory, meaning that you don't have to have a passport to get an intercultural experience. So as for domestic UC programs, we have a few to choose from. I'm not sure what's happening on the screen, but we have domestic exchanges. So with domestic exchanges, again, you can go to New Hampshire or New Mexico and participate in another university in those two states. You can participate in the UC DC program or the UC Center Sacramento program. For the UC Center Sacramento program, you want to check in with the Career Center on our campus to learn how to participate in that option. UC Davis has programs, as well as UCLA and UC Berkeley, that are located in the US. And there are also other domestic options through independent providers, such as Spanish Studies Abroad, ISA, CIS Abroad. These are just major organizations that offer study abroad programs that are either not just abroad, but also in the US. So here we have Puerto Rico, Denver, Hawaii, San Francisco, Boston, New York. And these are just a few examples. There are others out there that we encourage you to explore.
Okay, sorry for that mess up with the slides there. I'm trying to answer it in the chat box as well. So now let's looking at some planning tips for study abroad or away. Here we have a quote that says, buy the ticket, take the ride. I'd say one thing I always told myself when I was an undergraduate is that you can always make money. You can't always make certain memories. Because I worked 2 jobs as a bartender and a waitress to support myself through college. So buy the ticket. So first, let's start with academic planning. So you should speak with your major, minor, and college advisors to determine how to fit study abroad into your academic plan. Students have the option of meeting with their advisors to kind of map out your degree plan. It's like the academic planning form. So we highly suggest that you meet with your major advisors or even college advisors just to see when the best time to fit a study abroad experience into your 4 or 5 years is. As we mentioned earlier, you can get major or minor credit on these programs, but you do have to speak with your advisor to learn about any pre-approved courses on certain study abroad programs or how to petition to have credit counted toward your major. So next, and this is a really important piece, right? It's the financial planning aspect. So we kind of gave you kind of step-by-step on what we suggest that you do. The first is starting by choosing a program that aligns with your personal, academic, and career goals that we talked about at the beginning of the presentation. So in order to find kind of the best fit for you, we highly encourage you to make an appointment to meet with one of us. I think someone asked in the chat box if you have a specific study abroad advisor. You don't. We advise by some program types. So for example, Chrissy advises for all of our exchange programs, and I advise specifically for UCDC. But if you wanted to participate in a UC EAP program, we all advisors advise for that program. And then Emma advises for other UC programs. Adam advises for independent programs, and we each have our own faculty-led programs that we advise for, just so you guys kind of understand that. So looking at the second step in the financial planning process is to review your program's costs and budget. So every single program will list the total cost of participation, And so you'll use that amount when you're going into step 3, which is requesting a financial aid estimate. I know not all students receive financial aid, but if you do, we have specific financial aid advisors that advise for study abroad particularly. So you can give them the cost of the program participation, and they will give you an estimate on how much aid you can expect to receive. So then you kind of know what your gap is, right? Like how many scholarships you might want to apply for. Some students are fully funded through financial aid. So we highly recommend you meeting with a financial aid advisor. And all of this information is on our website. I know some people said that you couldn't take a screenshot of the QR code, but when we send this to you, you'll be able to do it from the presentation there. And then finally, there are so many study abroad and away scholarships. Our students receive over $140,000 annually. We actually have some featured scholarships here. The Gilman Award, that's up to $5,000. And if you study what they call a critical need language, like Japanese or Chinese, you're eligible for an additional $3,000. So that's almost up to $8,000 that you could get. With the Gilman, you do have to be a Pell Grant recipient. So you might need to talk with your financial aid advisor to see if you get the Pell Grant. Next, we have the Promise Award. That's specifically through the UC Education Abroad program. They in fact have a lot of different scholarships for their programs. So there are many funding opportunities with them. The Bourne Award is specifically for a critical need language as well, and that's up to $20,000 for an entire academic year. So I highly suggest you kind of look into some of these different funding opportunities. Finally, we have the Fund for Education Abroad, and that scholarship is really to diversify participants studying abroad or away, and that's up to $10,000. So all of this information, again, is available on our website. Just go to Get Started and go to Affording Study Abroad. And then finally, we have some general planning tips. So the first is to plan earlier, right? I know in the chat box, a lot of people are saying like, when should I study abroad? What's the best time for me? Well, typically applications are due anywhere from 4 to 8 months in advance. So you really kind of have to start thinking about how to incorporate this type of experience into your degree plan right now. You're at the right place to do that. We generally say if you want to study abroad at the beginning of your senior year, then you would start the process at the beginning of your junior year. Similarly, if you wanted to study abroad during the summer of your sophomore year, you might start planning studying abroad the fall of your sophomore year.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. So now that we've given you a pretty good introduction on program types and how to get started, we want to focus on some next steps that you can take with you today. So if you haven't already, we encourage you to go ahead and set up your study abroad profile. This is the first step for all students who want to study abroad. The profile is a space where you disclose certain things about yourself so that we can best advise you and provide resources based on your individual needs. It is also a place where you get to start learning more about program types and steps to apply and all the sort of important foundational knowledge that you need before you actually start applying. Once your your profile is set up, you can actually begin to apply to programs, you can RSVP to events, you can set up an appointment with an advisor, among a few other things. So if you visit ucsc.edu/slugsabroad, you can sign in. The first time you sign in, you will be prompted to fill out your profile. And you only need to fill that out the very first time you sign in. One benefit to setting up your profile is that you will be able to use our new tool in Slugs Abroad called a Program Explorer. So while you can learn more about program types that we discussed today on our website, in the Program Explorer, we go into great more detail about the different options you have to study abroad or away. So it will offer you some guidance in brainstorming options, setting goals for yourself, and finding the right program fit. So it's a tool that allows you to kind of go at your own pace and sort of start imagining the possibilities with study abroad. We know that there's so many options and it can sometimes be overwhelming to narrow down what you really want to do. So if you find yourself asking, I don't know where I want to go yet, I'm not sure what I want to study, I don't know what sort of personal benefits I want to gain, we highly recommend you start the Program Explorer. We are on social media. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, so please follow us. We like to post about what our students are doing, and we post about our staff and other exciting opportunities that are happening in our office. I would like to take this opportunity to tell you about a very exciting event that we have coming up at the end of October. It's called the Global Learning Opportunities Week, GLOW. And this is an event that we have put together. It's a week-long event, a sort of choose your own adventure event where you can attend as many sessions as you would like. There will be live sessions and there will be pre-recorded videos so that you can learn more about study abroad options, resources, how to afford study abroad. We're going to go into a lot of detail on a lot of different really cool stuff. And conveniently, this week-long event takes place right before we open up applications. So you can attend, get a feel for how you want to go moving forward, and then start applying soon after. Okay, so just a little bit more about us. We are working from home right now, but normally when we're on campus, we're located in the classroom unit, room 103. You can email us anytime if you have questions, studyabroad@ucsc.edu. You can call our front desk if you have any questions you'd like answered over the phone, general questions. And when you're ready to make an appointment, you can book that in Slugs Abroad, but remember to set up your profile first. And I believe now we would like to take the time to maybe start answering some of the questions that came through.
So we've been trying to keep up with everyone's questions.
Okay.
Because there's been a lot. So thank you guys for asking throughout. But if we've missed any questions, just because there are a lot in the chat box, please add them and we can answer them now. So we'll just give you guys a few minutes. If you think of anything, just go ahead and add them to the chat box. But thank you for all the questions that you guys have been posing throughout the presentation. And it's really exciting to see how kind of excited you guys all are about these opportunities. Go back to the QR code with Facebook and Instagram. I surely can.
So we had a question from someone asking about how do you determine which country or program to go on and what steps you can take to explore different opportunities and where to start. So I'm going to give another quick pitch for the Program Explorer. This is a really great place for you to start. Well, backing up one, your profile. When you sign the Slugs Abroad for the first time, your profile is going to, again, give a great overview of all the foundational information you need on program types and when to apply and how to apply. And from there, you can start the Program Explorer in Slugs Abroad. It's a self-guided tool to help you start thinking about what you want to get out of your experience. I would say after that, if you're still feeling like you have a lot of questions and you want to talk through it, at that point, I would recommend you make an appointment with an advisor. You can book that appointment in Slugs Abroad. There's some questions about the Wednesday webinar. So just so you know, Wednesday's webinar is going to be just a repeat of what we're doing today. There won't be any additional new information. We're just offering this session twice to be accommodating for everyone's schedule. So if you attend today, no need to attend Wednesday's webinar.
I have someone ask, what did I study in Brazil? So I studied, I went to Ohio State University. I'm from the Midwest. And so I minored in Portuguese. So when I spent a summer in Brazil, I studied the language and the culture, especially Bahian culture.
We had another great question from someone asking about doing a program that's on the semester system. So yes, most programs, whether it's an exchange or UC EAP, take place at universities abroad or in the US that are on the semester system. So we're talking about your traditional 15 to 20 week fall semester, 15 to 20 week spring semester. So when you're applying to a program or you're exploring your options, you want to pay attention to the duration of the program, and keeping in mind that in countries, in other countries, the school year can look very different. Okay, so the fall in one country may actually extend into January, February, March, which means that you would be missing fall and winter quarter. So there's no single answer to this question, except that pay attention to program duration and when the academic school year takes place in the country or the program that you're exploring.
I also want to mention there were some questions related to identity. If you go on our website, at the very top, there's a tab that says Get Started. Once you click on that, then you can see on the left side panel, there's a section that says Identities Abroad and Away. And we have specific student resources for a variety of different student identities. So I strongly encourage you, if you do have any identity specific questions, to at least check out that resource, and always meet with an advisor to talk about anything that might be unique for you.
We also got a really good question about graduating in time, specifically for transfer students. So just generally speaking, we find that study abroad students graduate on time. And the reason for that, we believe, is because in order to study abroad, there has to be an immense amount of academic planning, a couple years in advance. So that means you're having to do long-term planning with your advisors to make sure you're taking all your degree requirements. And in a way, it helps you to make sure you're going to graduate on time. Now, if you're a transfer student, you have less time to work with. So we recommend that transfer students start exploring programs now and be prepared to start applying to those programs once the applications open up. In this case, they'll be opening up in November if you want to study abroad next summer or next fall or next full academic year.
Chrissy, I think we have some questions in the Q&A box.
Okay.
Could you open that up? Because I can't do it while I'm sharing the screen.
Sure. Let's see, we've got a few here. So we had a question about studying abroad at sea. So there are a few study abroad independent programs that offer study abroad at sea. So semester at sea, semester, I think there's one more that I can't remember. These are independent programs, so they're not part of the UC. They're outside of the UC system, but they do offer the option to study on either a boat, like a cruise ship or like a sailboat, and earn credit. So you can visit our website if you want to learn more about how independent programs work. Just look for the independent programs page to see how you can get started with that.
What other questions do we have, Chrissy?
Someone had asked about studying abroad for 6 months in one place. So it looks like you're interested in doing like a long-term study abroad experience. So you can study abroad, the longest period you could study abroad at once would be like an academic year. If you wanted to study abroad in the same place for a year, you could choose the year-long option on that program, assuming year-long is an option on that specific program. So programs are different. Some are available fall, winter, spring, full year. Some are only, it totally depends. We have students who also study abroad on 2 programs back to back, or they study in a program, they come back to UC Santa Cruz for a quarter or 2, and then they go abroad again. So there's a lot of different combinations that you can do. We just encourage you to plan in advance and reach out to our office if you're thinking about doing more than one program, so we can make sure logistically it will work out. Someone who's interested in studying in Japan and they're taking Japanese now, that's great. So with programs in countries that don't have English as a native language, there's often there are often courses taught in English, so you may not necessarily need to know the local language, but there are programs where you do need to study a certain level of language in order to participate in that program. It just depends on the program. So just be sure to check out the eligibility criteria for those programs. Someone asked, what's the main difference between UCEAP and the exchange program? So UCEAP is a central office that the University of California operates so that students at all campuses can participate on the program. What that means is our office in Santa Cruz doesn't actually coordinate or develop these programs. We advise for them. If you have questions about them, we do our best to try and guide you in the right direction. And with exchanges, on the other hand, our office here in Santa Cruz does coordinate those programs. We do all the advising for those programs. There are a lot more similarities than there are differences. You get UC credit on both program types. You can use your financial aid on both program types. UCAP does have more options than the exchanges at this time. So I would just encourage you to explore the different programs that are available on each one. Are there cultural exchange programs for fall 2021? I'm not sure if I'm answering this correctly, but we do plan to offer exchange programs for fall 2021. The applications will be opening up in November, and those will be programs abroad and in the USA. Someone has a question about studying abroad their sophomore year. So with sophomore year study abroad, you do want to be speaking to your college advisor as soon as you can to explore whether or not that's possible for you. Generally speaking, we require students to be declared in a major by the time they participate on the program, but there are exceptions. You just need to speak with your college advisor and just be sure to plan accordingly. There are some programs that have eligibility criteria where you have to be junior in order to participate. And then some programs allow you to do that on your sophomore year. Regardless, your college has to approve you to study abroad during your sophomore year. Yes, you can study abroad more than once. We've had students, I think, who've studied abroad 3 times. If you plan ahead, it's absolutely possible. We had a question about a student who doesn't receive financial aid. Let's see. Okay, so yes, good question. If you don't receive financial aid, we encourage you, to explore the FAFSA application each year because your financial situation as it changes may allow you to opt into financial aid. But if they are not able to award you any aid, we would encourage you to apply to scholarships. There are many scholarships for study abroad that are available, and we have a lot of information about that on our website. We would also say that there are quite a few programs where you can participate and pay about the same amount as you would at UC Santa Cruz. There are some where you can pay a little bit less. And then there are some programs that cost a little more than Santa Cruz. It depends on things like the location, the cost of living in the country. As you all might know by now, it's quite expensive to live in Santa Cruz. So that being said, you can actually study abroad and spend less depending on where you're going. So just keep that in mind and be open to the different costs of programs. It's really sort of all over the board with that. So just be sure to explore the program costs carefully.
I want to address a question that was posed in the chat. Just so you guys know, I think Chrissy is answering the questions in the Q&A and I'm trying to answer in the chat box. But a student or someone asked if programs have changed at all due to COVID, and if they'll, be changed in any way once you all return to campus. So some programs actually have adjusted due to COVID. So for example, last spring, when students were studying in country and the pandemic kind of hit, they were brought home and they finished their program virtually. There's actually many virtual programs offered right now. UCDC, which usually takes place in Washington, DC, that's actually offered as a remote internship program for this academic year. So for fall, winter, and spring. They haven't made any decisions yet about what they'll do for next year. UCEAP canceled many of their winter and spring programs, so you can't participate in a UCEAP program if it begins before March 15th. Just to give you some types of examples of what different program providers are doing. But we would never let students study abroad if the situation was still as bad as it was and as it is. So we're constantly monitoring to see what the CDC and Department of State advise in terms of travel. But virtual and remote programs have become more popular since the COVID onset. Any more questions in the Q&A, Chrissy?
Not any new ones.
Yeah, so in the study abroad profile, there is information on scholarships. You can also go to our website, studyabroad.ucsc.edu. And again, if you go to that Get Started tab at the top, and then you press Affording Study Abroad, there's a specific web page dedicated to scholarships so that you can learn about what different scholarship opportunities are out there. Thank you guys for coming to the presentation. I saw someone thanking us for it, but really, like, you guys make this presentation, so thank you.
Yes, thanks for attending.
I have everyone's email addresses through your registration, so I will send the recording as well as a PDF of the presentation so that you can take pictures of the QR codes and I don't have access to what we discussed today. We strongly encourage you, if you want to know more, to make an appointment with us. We're all here for you guys. So you can make an appointment by going, setting up your study abroad profile. And then at the very top, it'll say virtual appointments. And then you'll just click that. And most of us are available to meet most days and times of the week. So there's a lot of availability. And yes, the chat box was lit this presentation. So thanks guys for that. Well, I think we will be ending it all. Again, thank you so much for coming. I saw some of you guys were connecting in the chat box. That's super cool. And again, we'll follow up, but we hope to meet with some of you virtually during an appointment soon. Thanks, guys.